So we're going to be looking at price discrimination based on observable characteristics. So simple case, where a monopolist is setting prices to different consumer groups. So it could be students and people who are working, or it could be people based in different countries, etc. So there's some observable characteristics whereby the seller can identify these different groups. So you have a student ID. This gives you a rebate typically when you're flying, or when you're taking the train, or going by bus, or going to a museum, something like this. So that's a simple example of this kind of price discrimination. So we're going to be looking at the effects of this on prices and profits. And we're going to be doing it in the standard way, where we first see what are prices and profits where the markets can be segmented, where the buyer or the seller can rely on student IDs in some sense to identify the group with a lower ability or willingness to pay. So we're going to have that on one side, where we look at segmented case, and then we're going to be looking at the integrated case, where the firm is not able to segment markets. Could be because, say, you're looking at two different countries. In one situation, there are important trade barriers between those countries. You can set different prices in different countries. And then you could compare that to a situation, say, within the EU, where there's an active work to limit the trade barriers between countries. Okay. So let's, without further ado, let's get going. And we're going to be looking at one example with two types of groups. So we can call them the lowies, where the inverse demand function is given by price to lowies 1 minus QL over 2. And we have, so in essence, a standard kind of monopoly setting. We could think, well, this firm is, in the segmented case, it's setting prices so as to maximize profits, just as if it were regular, just a monopoly situation, but applied to one market segment. So setting quantity to maximize this profit, we assume for simplicity that marginal costs are zero. Nothing with that related to price discrimination per se. Is just a simple explanation, or a simple simplification that we'll make. It's going to be enough notation here anyway. So just as we did in previous videos, you maximize this profit, giving marginal revenue equals to marginal cost being zero, gives us this solution. Plugging in again gives us optimal price of 1/2, and we're going to be doing the same here for the highs, which we can say what are the other group. We should say that first. So there's lowies, there's highs. They have higher ability or willingness to pay, given by this, and we're going to be solving for their optimal prices as well. Okay, so here we draw the highest, saving some time. So demand curve, marginal revenue, set quantity such that marginal revenue equals marginal cost for these as well equals 0, gives us quantity of 1 and a price of 1. Okay, so this is sort of what we'll be comparing to. So when markets can be segmented, it's what we just looked at. They have the price to the low group, lowies, equals to 1/2. We have a price to the highs equal to 1. And we have profits for the monopolist. It's just a combination from these two. Marginal costs are 0, fixed costs are 0, so it's just revenue. So it's revenue 1/2 times 1, so 1/2 from the lowies and 1 from the highs. So profits equal to 1.5. Okay. So now let's look at the case where markets are integrated, where you're not able to set different prices to different groups if you're a monopolist. So you set one price for both. So the first thing that we do is to look at what's the combined quantity in this market, and what's market demand. And we've done this in previous chapters as well when we adding demand curves, but we'll do it again here since it's a bit tricky. Okay, so let's we're going to be cleaning up here a bit, but the first thing we can note is that, you know, relating price to market demand. What's the intercept here for lowies? Well, it's 1, right? Given by this. So we know that if price is above 1, only highs will be in this market. Okay, only highs will be demanding the product. Okay, so this is like some pharmaceuticals where there's only a demand in rich countries because poor countries there are not enough people who are able to pay. Okay, so this is the market demand curve is given by the highs for high prices, but then price is 1 or below, we will have demand from both groups. So we want to sum this. Okay, so let's clean up a bit here so that we can find some space to work with. Okay, so we have that what's a quantity demanded from this market? Well, it's only high demand. So what's rewriting quantity as, so here we have the inverse demand function. We want to rewrite that so that we have quantity as a function of price, so 2 minus P. So we have quantity demand is 2 minus P if price is above 1 and below 2, but we don't need to write that out. There's enough going on here anyway, right? If price is 1 or below, we're going to be having demand from both groups. So it's going to be 2 minus P plus, so this is from the high group, from the low group, reshuffle here as well. So we have that QL equals to multiply up to 2 and shift over minus 2P. Okay, so plus 2 minus 2P, or that's equal to 4 minus 3P. We can erase that, the intermediate step. If price is 1 or below. Okay. So say that we want to draw that. I'll clean out this as well. So let's draw that. Well, yes, we can then say, well, what do we have? Well, we have that Q equals 4 minus 3P. So writing that in terms of the inverse demand function, shifting over and dividing by 3 gives us a P equals Q over 3 minus, going a bit too quick here. I'm going to keep it tidy. So it's 4 over 3 minus Q over 3. Okay, so that's the intercept, but we only see this demand curve once price is 1 or below. Okay, so this is a market demand curve. Has a kink at this point where the lowies come into play as well. Okay, so what are we after? Well, we're after the profit maximizing quantity here. So the firm wants to set the quantity so as to maximize profits, where profits are really given by price. 4 over 3 minus Q over 3 times quantity. And again, we have 0 marginal cost, so we don't need to take account of that. We're setting, as usual, quantity as so as to maximize profits. We want to find a point at the profit function where the slope is 0. So we use calculus to do that. So differentiating this expression with respect to quantity gives us this, okay, which we can solve for optimal quantity of 2. Okay, so this is the margin revenue. Okay, so if we want to draw this, if we want to illustrate this, there's one little thing to remember. It's that if we're looking at low quantities here, where not a whole lot is produced, well, the firm is only getting revenue from the high group. So the marginal revenue curve for low quantities will only be given by sales from the high group. Okay, so the marginal revenue curve will be like this until the point where, up until 1, where the price is 1 here, at which point it will jump and the marginal revenue curve will instead be given by this animal here. Okay, and we'll then have it twice as steep as the demand curve for the integrated market. And we said that the solution here, the optimal quantity, is 2. And we should, this is not matching up perfectly. So let's actually have something that does match up perfectly, like so, because that's how it should look. So we have, if we're inserting that optimal quantity into the inverse demand function, we get that optimal price is 2/3. Okay. So now we're finally at a stage where we can do the comparison. Where we have, and that's that messier here. So we'll do this on the side. So integrated markets. We're not able to set, where the firm is not able to set different prices to, say, students and people who work, or not able to set different prices to rich and poor countries. We would have the same price. Okay, so there's only one price being sold there. So PL equals 2/3, PH equals 2/3. And what are profits? Well, there's 2/3 times 2, so they're 4/3 or approximately 1.33. Okay. So we can note some different things here. We can note that when markets can be segmented, the prices to the weaker group are lower. Prices to the richer group, the people with a higher willingness to pay, are higher. Okay, so this is intuitive. We want to set a lower price to students because they have lower ability to pay. If you can't set different prices to students and those who work, what price are you going to be setting when you only can take one? Well, there's going to be some sort of weighted average between the two. It's going to be somewhere in between. And this is going to be hurting the profits of the monopolist. Okay, so in some sense, it's constrained. Rather than setting optimal prices, it has to make do with some sort of compromise, which results in lower prices. Okay, so this is simple or simple. There's quite some footwork, but it's an important kind of price discrimination. We see it in a lot of settings, and we also see a lot of cases where, precisely because of this reason, firms are interested in trying to segment markets. Okay.